Hi guys, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holidays, whether it's with family or being solo like me. I was planning on going to see family on Christmas, and then I got sick and there was gonna be a baby there. I didn't want to get the baby sick, so I ended up staying home. My husband went, but even though I was alone on Christmas, I actually had the best time just relaxing. But I hope that whatever you're doing, you are feeling refreshed and had a nice holiday break at least. So today's video is going to be my favorite eyeshadow palettes of this year. I feel like I'm a little bit late on this. Well, you know what? There's like a grace period where these videos are acceptable. I think I'm within the grace period, but the palettes are going to be ranging in price point. There's going to be some affordable ones, there's going to be some high-end ones, some in between. They're in no particular order, but all of the palettes are ones that I really love. Like, I really skimmed through all of my palettes, and I'm only showing the ones that I really stand by, that I really love, that I use time and time again, and I hope my recommendations are going to be helpful for you. Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every single week, and also be sure to follow me on my social media. Everything is _ivorypcherry. So the first palette that I'm going to mention is the Morphe and James Charles palette. I'm so glad that I won this because I don't think I would have gotten it if I didn't win it. I felt like I had a colorful eyeshadow palette already, so I didn't need this. But once I started playing with the bottom row, I realized that the eyeshadow palette that I had that was colorful was just absolute crap. I mean, I kind of knew that already, but I was like, well, I don't want to waste it, so I'm just going to keep using that instead. But now that I've had a taste of a better life, it's still in my storage. I don't really know why I did that, but I do plan on throwing it away. This basically has everything that you'll ever want. You got your neutrals, you got your colorfuls. This really caters to so many different people. They blend out really wonderfully. The price is really good when you break it down. I believe it's $1 per eyeshadow. I will say that since he's come out with the mini travel size version, I would go with that just because these pans are actually pretty big. I use this pretty often, and these big pans I will never go through. I feel like the miniature version is much more realistic, but that's because I have so many eyeshadow palettes, so I feel like I would go through that a lot quicker than I ever will with this. Like, this will last forever. So if you are a person who, like me, does both colorful looks as well as neutral toned down looks, this is a great palette to have that's just all in one. The next palette I want to talk about is the Jaclyn Hill palette. Definitely more on the neutral side, but you do have pops of color there. This is probably something that is catered more towards me just because on an everyday, I am doing very wearable, realistic looks, and if I just want to have fun, then you have your little fun corner here. But same thing, they blend out really nicely. She did a really great job in this palette. I haven't had any blending issues, patchiness, or problems with the eyeshadows fading away. I don't want to sound too redundant because I feel like I'm going to say the same things for the palettes, so just know that I really like this one. Next off, I want to talk about the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals palette. Oh man, love is an understatement. Whatever the next word above love is, that's me. That's where I'm at least with this palette. It is so beautiful. I would say that this is basically me in a palette. I would tweak it a little bit. There's another palette that I'll mention next. The two of them combined would be my ultimate palette. It is what I'm wearing on my eyes. What really makes it for me is this top row. They're amazing, and you don't need a glitter primer. My one issues with this palette, which is why I said the next palette that I'm going to mention, those two combined would be perfect. I will say that if you take away the first row, these are not new colors. You probably have these colors somewhere in your collection, and that's something I said in my review about this palette. If it wasn't for this top row, I don't think I would have purchased this because it is quite expensive. They do blend really nicely, but I have more affordable eyeshadows that do the same thing. And the second issue I had with the mattes and the sequins, they're basically the same thing, except like these are a matte with pressed glitter in them, or not glitter, like reflect in them. There's shimmer in there. If you swirl your brush into it and then tap it off, basically all the shimmer is gone and it's just a matte. So I do feel like these two are redundant. I would have preferred if either of these rows was just a different color, something to add into the color story, not basically identical colors with shimmer pressed into it. Regardless, I still really love this palette. I feel like it's perfect for if you wanted to do like an everyday look and it's super basic for work, and then you were gonna go out after work, you just put in a glitter and just add it to your eyes, and it just instantly oomphs the look and makes it so glamorous and so pretty. And I also really love that this palette is foolproof. You can mix and match, you can go across the board, and you'll never have a bad look. They all work really well together, so creating a look will be really effortless. The next eyeshadow palette is the BH Cosmetics Ultimate Neutrals palette. I have mentioned this so many times. Me and this palette, we are in a long-term commitment. The love here, it's undeniable. Our chemistry, we just go. Some of these shadows I feel like could have replaced the bottom two rows of this palette, and then it would have been perfect. No matter how many eyeshadow palettes I try, I always go back to this palette. There's just something about it that calls to me every single time. There are a lot of neutral palettes out there, don't get me wrong, but the fact that there's so many different shades of neutrals in here, and there are different finishes too. Again, it's the same just like the Tati one, where I could go across the board pretty much in any way and your look is never gonna look bad. They all flow together. BH Cosmetics has sales all the time, so wait. I got this for $14.50 or $15, something like that, but it was really cheap, and for 42 shades, that's a bargain. So the next palette I want to talk about is the So Jaded palette. This one's the collaboration with Kathleen Lights and ColourPop. I think a common theme that I have with eyeshadow palettes that are big like this is that they're versatile because they have both wearable and also colorful shadows. Because even though I usually play it safe, there are some times where I'll have like a neutral transition color and then want to have like a fun shimmer on the lid. It's nice that they're there. I don't really use them, but it's nice to have in case I ever want to spice up my life. In the video that I reviewed this, someone commented that I said the word peridot wrong. I'm sorry, the exact comment was LOL at the way you say peridot and your wonky lashes. So after that, I decided to educate myself. Here we go. Peridot pronunciation by Google. So what did I say? Peridot? Peridot. I'm confused as to why she left that comment. But either way, it takes zero effort to not be an asshole. All the times that I have been petty or spiteful or malicious, I purposefully act like that. Whenever I'm being catty, I am putting in work to be that way. When it comes to mean comments, it depends the comment. But for the most part, I would say like, I don't care, but I like kind of care because I talk about it enough that I care a little bit, but not enough to like take it seriously. I guess it just more so amazes me that people go through quite a bit of ways to be an asshole, which is so unnecessary. But if that's your journey and it interferes with my journey, I'm just deleting it. So the next eyeshadow palette is the EQUIPTMENT Brights palette. There's one that has all mattes and I believe one that has all shimmers. I'm not totally sure, but this one has both. This is for the person that loves big, bold, colorful, and bright looks. I mean, the top row is definitely safe and there are some safe colors in here, but when you look at it at a first glance, you can tell this is a fun palette. Bright colors like this, I will always say that you should have some type of bright base underneath. Pretty much all colorful shadows look better with a white base, whether it's a white concealer or a white eyeshadow primer. My favorite ones are the Anastasia eye primer. This has really good coverage. You really only need a little bit of it, but if you were looking for something more affordable, the NYX white eyeshadow primer is also a really good alternative. It comes in a pot like this. As you can see, it is a lot more white than this one, but this one can be sheared out a little bit more than this one, I would say. So even if you're not going for a colorful eyeshadow look, but you want an eyeshadow primer, you just add a little bit and this blends out, I feel like, a little bit better than this one, and it won't look so white. So this is what it'll look like all blended out. Whereas this one, see, even when I blend it, it's still pretty opaque. Like this one, I can see my veins under it, but this one, I don't see anything under. The next palette is the Huda New Nude palette. This palette, as much as it pains me because of the price point, I still stand by this palette and I would repurchase it if I could do it all over again. The marbled shadows they're so beautiful. Oh my god, they are so special. What I love is whenever I want to do a neutral look, but I don't want to do like the typical browns, coppers, it's still safe, but technically it is bordering on a little bit of color, like a little bit of fun, because these are just really muted purples. These are really muted pinks, and typically you wouldn't consider pinks and purples a neutral color, but she did it in a way that made it wearable. So if you're tired of the typical neutral eyeshadow palettes, this is like a step up from that. It's still really wearable, but just a little bit more fun. The next palette is also by Huda. This one is the Mauve Obsession. Can I please speak today? The Mauve Obsessions palette. You only need to dip a little bit into your brush and the color will just keep going on and on. This is super amazing and they blend out effortlessly. I know that Huda came out with this type of palette, but in like this size, which is great because if you like this eyeshadow palette, but you don't like this price, these are way cheaper. I only have one, but if they're anything like this one, I would say go get it because I really love this one and I really like how compact it is. So it's really great for traveling as well. I don't know why I say that because I never travel, but I feel like the fact that a palette is travel friendly just is like a nice bonus to have in life. All right, so the next ones I want to talk about is the Maybelline City Mini palettes. The one I have is Blush Avenue and Down Downtown Sunrise. These are the only eyeshadow palettes that I like by Maybelline. I've tried a couple of them and I don't like them. There was one called like the matte bar, and the mattes in that one are not the same as the mattes in this one. Like these are way better. So if you are looking for something more affordable and you like Maybelline, get these because I feel like they make these different than they make the other eyeshadow palettes. My one thing about these is that I never feel like one eyeshadow palette is fully complete. Like some are, but not all of them. Like I feel like this one is more complete than this one. So the one issue with them is that even though they're affordable, I feel like you should buy multiple because they complement each other well and you'll have more variety in looks. Well, yeah, more variety, but also you might need more eyeshadow palettes to complete a look, I would say. Like I feel like these two together would work as a great eyeshadow palette, but when they stand alone, I don't feel like they're fully complete. That being said, I still recommend these because they are really great quality. The next palette is the Jeffree Star Blue Blood palette. If you are looking for a blue eyeshadow palette, this is amazing. I haven't tried it, but I know ColourPop has a blue eyeshadow palette. So if you're looking for a cheaper alternative, maybe try that one. But this one came out first, so by the time the ColourPop one came out, I was like, well, I already have this one, so what's the point? I will say the one thing is that these pastel-y colors, they look really nice, but when you blend them out, they kind of blend away really quickly. The mint green one isn't too bad, but this blue one, as you can see, when it blends, it kind of fades. What I've come to find is when you're dealing with these pastel colors at the top, pack it down first before blending. Like don't just start blending right away, otherwise you're going to be blending and blending forever. And also when you're packing it, don't blend it right away. Like let it stay for like a second or so before you start blending it. I feel like that's the one issue I have with this palette is just the pastels, but everything else is very good. The next palette I want to talk about is the Naked Heat. The color story is really wonderful. You can't mess up. If you like these colors, this is a really perfect palette to have if you want something tame for daytime and then towards the end of the night you kind of want to oomph it up with these colors at the end. I really like the size of this. It's not really bulky and it's pretty sleek. And in my closet, I put this one upright like this because I have a couple of long palettes, so they don't take up a lot of space. So I really like the size of this one, but also it's a very good palette. All right, so that is all the eyeshadow palettes I want to talk about, but I do have more things I wanted to discuss. I wanted to talk about these Stila liquid eyeshadows. I was on a quest all year to look for dupes for these because my friend let me try them once and I was like, oh my god, they're so amazing, but I don't want to pay that. And I'm sad to say that no matter what I tried, they just didn't perform the same. Either they applied nice, but then they started cracking or they started flaking. They weren't long lasting. So my favorite ones are Grace and Kitten. When I swatch it, you can see, oh, it's so shiny. You have to be careful about the ones that have glitter in it because I've noticed that those dry easily, like in their container. So if you don't use them within say like a year or two, they might be dried out. But these are just metallic, so they're still pretty good to go. But just be careful of the ones that contain glitter in them. And the last thing I want to talk about are the Suva Hydra liners. These are water activated. They're so much fun. I have 4 of them. I use this one and the neon yellow one and they work really good. Just add a little bit of water because you want it to be a little bit thick. If it's too watery, you're not going to get the same type of pigmentation, but it is very possible with a little bit of water to get this exact color. Like it's not going to be diluted. You just have to get the right consistency. But when you get it right, they are very bright. You can keep going over it if you want to make it even brighter. I wouldn't go past going over it more than 3 times just because it can crack a little bit, but I really love these. They are very easy to use. And I was looking for something that was actually neon, not just bright. I'm talking neon, and these are it. So that's it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to like it and feel free to comment down below what other types of videos you'd like to see from me. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.